Hello everyone, my name is Andrew and I'm an apostate. One of my followers shared with me a video from an account that was apparently created for the sole purpose of debunking Dr. Dan McClellan's videos. It is ran by a sock with googly eyes. Anyway, this particular video is a response to Dan McClellan's video number 1949, wherein Dan argues.
Anyone who tells you that the Bible does not endorse chattel slavery either has never read it, doesn't understand it, or is just lying to you.
Salk makes a four-part response that I thought about going through point by point, but that'd take forever, and I don't think it would be very useful to you all. So instead, I will focus on Salk's two primary arguments. In their first video, Salk attempts to take one of Dan's arguments, namely that homosexuality is a poor translation of what behavior the Bible prohibits in the classic anti-LGBTQ+ clobber passages, and flip it to say the same thing about slavery. And spoilers, it just doesn't really work. Dan's argument relies on two primary factors. The first being that the concept of homosexuality as an orientation did not exist in antiquity. And two, the word homosexuality does not adequately communicate what behavior is being prohibited in the clobber passages, because they primarily condemn male same-sex intercourse, not same-sex attraction or even same-sex intercourse between women. Salk argues that because the word slavery brings to mind for modern audiences what occurred to black enslaved people in the antebellum South, it is inappropriate to use that term to describe what is condoned in the Bible, because there are significant differences between the two practices. I hope you can already see what's wrong with this argument. Just because the first thing some people think of when they hear the word slavery is the antebellum South, it doesn't mean that modern audiences would be unable to grasp that other forms of slavery exist. For example, if I described to you a girl who was sold to a man by her father to pay for his debts, and she was not free to leave her enslaver for the rest of her life, was considered the man's property, and had to obey the man in all things under threat of physical violence, and whose body was free for the man to use as he wishes, would it be inappropriate to say that this girl did not go through slavery, just because there are some differences between what she went through and what black people in the antebellum South went through? Of course not. And by the way, this system of debt slavery was endorsed in Exodus 21.
God provides a provision in the book of Leviticus for the Israelites to purchase those in bondage and slavery to foreign gods and foreign nations into the land of Israel, which affords them an opportunity at freedom instead of the slavery and bondage that they were serving in those nations, because that kind of slavery and bondage in pagan nations was horrible and harsh.
Salk is arguing that Leviticus 25 verses 44 to 46 is not an endorsement of chattel slavery, but that is actually providing Israel with the means to purchase foreign slaves out of bondage to foreign gods and instead into a better life in service to the God of Israel. I would like to point out that this same argument was used by those who were staunchly pro-slavery in the United States. John C. Calhoun said, "Never before has the black race of Central Africa from the dawn of history to the present day attained a condition so civilized and so improved not only physically, but morally and intellectually." For someone who has spent 4 videos contrasting biblical slavery from antebellum slavery, Salk sure sounds like an awful lot like a 19th century slave master. There are several other issues with this interpretation. The text nowhere says that these foreign slaves were being purchased out of slavery. Nowhere does the text say that they have a path towards citizenship within Israel. But the text does say that these foreigners are being purchased to be ahuzah, property that can be passed down within that family, olam, forever. To claim this means that the people being purchased are being protected is not only ridiculous, but absolutely abhorrent in its whitewashing of slavery.
And it says, but you're not to treat your native Israelite debt slaves harshly or violently like you can your chattel slaves.
It doesn't say that at all. The end of verse 46 says, "But over your brethren, the children of Israel, ye shall not rule one over another with rigor." Nowhere in that verse does it say that you can treat those that are redeemed out of slavery from other nations with cruelty. Dan is twisting this verse to suggest that Israelites get treated nicely, but foreigners somehow get treated with cruelty. And
Dan is not twisting the text. Verse 46 is clearly contrasting how to treat fellow Israelites versus how one is permitted to treat their foreign slaves. One, you cannot treat harshly. The other is your property. And how can you treat your property according to the Bible? In Exodus 21, we see guidelines of how one is able to beat their slaves. If an enslaver goes too far and kills his slave, they are to be punished. But if the slave survives the beating for a few days, the enslaver is not to be punished, because the slave is the master's property. Does this sound at all consistent with Sock's story of emancipation? Or does it sound consistent with chattel slavery? When it comes down to it, Sock's arguments are complete and utter nonsense, and are proof that those who deny the Bible endorses slavery
Either has never read it, doesn't understand it, or is just lying to you.
If you found this video useful, please consider giving me a like and a follow. If you really want to see me take on Sock's full 1-hour argument, please consider subscribing to my YouTube. If I get 50 subscribers, I will be able to do long-form videos where I take down these bad apologetics arguments live, and I may even try to get some of my other creator friends in on it. Anyway, thank you for watching.